They didn't even understand what it was all about. Okay, so spongine plant in Raigad, same problem. You have a mess out there, they're very messy plants. Coal, iron ore being handled. Actually the guy who did the air analysis, worked under me in the consulting firm where I was the director at one time in Delhi. I was with Envirotech Consultants. So this guy set up his own consulting firm and he bought an AS. He thought he was doing a very smart thing by reporting all the values. He didn't realize that actually the carcinogens there were causing a cancer risk. So some people around the plant who thought that there was a problem called me in, and I did a risk analysis and found that there was a cancer risk around this thing. You can see from the dust out here, the kind of pollution that these kind of plants cause. Right around this area, you have several spongine plants, coal mines, and tribals. Poor people, basically. Now, Tirupati, I was a long time back on one of the committees of the Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board. That was soon after I drifted to Hyderabad. And we used to go on inspections, the committee. And in one place where we went, and we found a small chrome plater right in the middle of a residential area in Tirupati. And even before we went there, we asked him to do a chrome balance incentive for us. He said, oh, there's no loss of chrome at all. He said, what is the control equipment you have? He had nothing much. Obviously, he was going to lose chromium, hexavalent chromium was going to get emitted into the air, and it was a residential colony. When we went there, I was completely aghast. His entire roof was green, which means it was nothing but chromium, hexavalent chromium. I told the Pollution Control Board officer, the regional officer who came with us to go collect a sample, that guy was shit scared. Why? I asked him why. He said, this guy's a gunda. You, sir, are coming from Hyderabad. You'll go back. Tomorrow, I don't know what's going to happen to me. This is the story he told us, in fact. Okay? So these guys can get away with almost anything, literally. Now, why do these problems happen? I'm just going to make a few remarks because in my years of experience of handling problems related to risk, there are a few things I've learned. And one of the basic things I've learned is that these problems are problems that no single discipline can really tackle or solve. Not engineers, not doctors, not lawyers. There has to be a very multidisciplinary team that can really do this kind of work. Okay. One of the first things is that there is a difference between what we call actual risk and human perception of risk. And the greater the difference between these two, the more difficult it is to manage a risk problem. Now, at any given point of time, one or the other is above. I mean, there's a gap between the two. The whole game is actually to narrow the gap between actual risk and human perception of risk. And this is where, in fact, we've failed in many, many places because of this particular issue. And the entire understanding of this issue of human perception of risk was, in fact, is a contribution of behavioral scientists, where they have said, with a lot of data that they collected, that if you can change human perception towards risk, in fact, you can beat the problem at a far lower cost than if you try to do it with technology or with science. And they're very right, because the first time I heard some of these guys, talking about the kind of things they did, this was way back in 1989 when I was in a conference in Stockholm. And I switched fields after the Bhopal accident and started specializing in risk. I found suddenly that it's not my science and technology, it's these guys who can contribute a lot more than what the scientists and technologists can do. And they opened my eyes to this whole thing, that it is people who can really change things. It's not just science and technology. So, changing human perception towards risk is an extremely important thing if you want to reduce risk, whatever kind of risk problem that we face, whether it be to a virus or to heavy metals or to, for example, a cyclone or whatever it is. Okay, now there is a term that's used, a black swan event and a grey rhino event. A black swan event is an event which is a massive hazard which hits without notice at all. Okay? And a lot of people thought, for example, that the COVID was a black swan event. It wasn't a black swan event. There were 4 articles I wrote, very lengthy articles I wrote soon after the COVID thing happened, analyzing that it is actually a grey rhino event. A grey rhino event basically gives you signals and signs that it is going to happen. You ignore it, and then it hits you. And it hits you so hard that you don't know what's hit. And we had all the signs. I'm not going to get into the details, but we ignored the several pandemics. There were 15 pandemics that have happened in the last 100 years. And at least 2 of them have killed well over 1 billion people. And we ignored it. And there were several other signs that happened, including a paper from China, which predicted exactly the kind of thing that happened in COVID, and so on. So, grey rhino events need to be recognized, and for that you require people to be able to, really start recognizing these things. The second thing I really learned in this whole thing is that information plays a massive role. If you can have information reach people in time, then it can play a very big role in saving lives. I consider that what happened during the 2004 tsunami in India, where we lost 10,000 fishermen on the Andhra and Tamil Nadu coast, and I went to the coast soon after the tsunami, and I found that a lot of women died because the tsunami hit just when the boats were coming in, and women go to receive the boats, they bring in the fish, and then the men go off to sleep because they've been up all night, they've been up for 36 hours, they've been up for even longer. It's the women who bring in the fish and then sort them out and then sell them. What happened in that tsunami actually was that it hit the Andamans 2.5 hours before it hit Tamil Nadu and Andhra. And the Air Force station there sent signals immediately to Delhi, and I have the entire timeline with me. It went to DST and it went to the Home Ministry, and there it just sat quietly. Nobody said a thing about it. We could have evacuated. 2.5 hours is more than enough to evacuate, because all you had to do was evacuate by just half a kilometer. We did. I consider it a criminal offense on the part of Government of India, Government of Tamil Nadu, Government of Andhra Pradesh. The same thing happened with the Ersama cyclone. ISRO satellite pictures were available for 3 days before the Ersama cyclone hit Ersama, and I have the pictures with me. Okay, and Orissa government just slept. It had the pictures. It knew that it was going to happen. That exact landing site was predicted. The intensity was predicted. Everything was predicted. The information was not transmitted. 50,000 people gone. Okay. So this is what we do. I mean, for example, in Bhopal, if the people just knew which direction to run, you move always perpendicular to the wind direction, they ran with the wind. And literally, because it's a corrosive substance, MIC is a corrosive substance, literally they were drowning in their own juices. This is what happened. Okay? So there are only 6 ways to save people from a natural hazard or a man-made hazard. If only, and they're very simple ways of teaching people of how to really, save themselves in such situations, or teach governments how to do these things. But, well, you know for yourself what we do and why we lose people. So I'm going to end here by just saying that we don't have the right to put those children in Bhopal. And I spent 3 years, in fact, with the medical studies and the modeling studies on Bhopal. I was almost arrested along with Dr. G. Agarwal when we were doing balloon experiments to measure the lapse rates out there, to model the gas leak and so on. And what does the police do? Try to come and arrest us, for doing experiments to model the gas leak. Okay. we don't have the right to put those Bhopal kids, we don't have the right to put them at risk. They didn't ask for it at all. Okay? And there's a moral story in that. And what I'm going to end up saying is that there are 4 kinds of countries. There are countries basically which have high value of life and high price of life countries like Sweden, for example. And there are countries which have low value of life and low price of life countries like India. Now, US has a low value of life but a high price of life, and that is how they, to an extent, try to control disasters. Not the best way of doing it, actually. The way Sweden, or for that matter of fact, Cuba do it, by putting a very high value on life itself, by nurturing life. But that's a long shot. I mean, it's a long road. It's going to take time to get that, actually. So what I'm trying to say ultimately is that we need to change our entire outlook from our global outlook, from doing gain maximization for a few, which is what we're doing now, to risk minimization for all. It's a long road, but we have to start now, and I'm very happy that this group is beginning to talk about it. I would like to say that in future I would certainly like to see more disciplines come in and actually try to tackle very concrete problems, because it isn't tackling these concrete problems that we learn what the impediments are, as we've done in the past. Try to get compensation for X, Y, Z, and then we find, the court fees are too high, and so on and so forth. So you really need a multidisciplinary group to do this thing. Okay? So thank you very much for the time you've given me.
Just some very for that. Yeah. So how many times you were
I think there are a lot of people here, and you look like a kind of thing here. You're into some.
I'm so scared when you were saying.
This guy is a.
Dr. Gupta there in Bhopal issues. Went from army to investigate the whole.
Sir, Sagar sir, it was really enriching us. I think these are all the things which has to be properly, maybe as doctors, we just know that that was a only Bhopal gas tragedy. The cause of this is MIC, methyl isocyanate. That was the only thing. We never knew about that perpendicular and all that.
Yeah.
As a medical doctor, I was not aware about that. So I think this is big kind of stuff.
Eye-opener.
Eye-opener.
I'd be happy to share a paper I wrote on Bhopal, which details out the 4 problems that we faced in Bhopal. And one of the problems is how we so beautifully mismanaged the post-accident health issues that emerged. The health issues still remain in Bhopal.
I cannot speak about this Bhopal issue because after the event I went for investigation from the Ministry of Defence. It was not in uniform. There are a lot of information which is totally confidential even now. And the worst part is the factory, people are living within 1 kilometer. The whole villages are there. Whereas as per the documents of that, 20 kilometer minimum. When I spoke to that doctor there who was in charge there, every week 5 to 6 people were dying. They were showing it as if he has fallen from the roof, but actually they were dying due to poisoning. Then I asked him, "Maine kaha, yaar, sach bol kya hai?" He said, "This will explode one day because this equipment is bad." He is no more. He also died in that.
Sir, Saksena, can I go ahead?
Yeah, sir, please, sir.
Yeah.
Please, sir.
If I can just, someone asked about Bhopal, just to give you a piece of information. After all the ins and outs going to Judge Keenan's court in the US and then the Supreme Court up and down, where they got rid of the criminal case and then they had to reinstitute it because they didn't have the power and so on. The average compensation for each person who died was 63,000 rupees. In the Exxon Valdez case in the US, each bird, I think, got a few lakhs.
Summarize your last slide, sir. Low value of life.
63,000 rupees. it's right.
Over
No, I think it is
70
taken
Worse
over
than
by
shameful.
DuPont, right? Sir, Union Carbide is taken over by DuPont now, I suppose.
Yeah,
DuPont or some
and
other.
they
Dow-
refuse to take
Dow
on the
can-
responsibility
Not
for
DuPont,
either
Dow
cleaning
can.
up. There's a lot of toxic waste in the groundwater,
Yeah.
or paying any further compensation.
Heavy metals are filled all around.
We'll listen to Dr.
Yeah.
Dinesh.
Sir, I may be
toxicologist.
diverting a little bit
No,
from
sir,
the
sir,
real
sir.
topic,
It's okay.
actually, because maybe little towards the medical side
Exactly, sir.
and towards the government of India policies, which repeatedly being criticized, and they are bound to be criticized. I am not against it, but somewhere we have to also consider the thing is that today government is not in a position to take a decision, sir. I am very sorry to say, which medical institute, which clinical institutes, which academic institute, which clinician has honestly reported the document that this person has died because of this. Have you registered this document in any place? I am in one of the committees. I will not be able to reveal certain things because of my compulsions. In food additives, flavors, and certain committees where we are planning to ban certain flavors, which are toxic flavors, which are manufactured in India, which are exported from India, which are used in India. But we are not able to ban them. Why? How many? Where is the data? I am very happy that Hyderabad AIG Institute has very courageously reported about the IBD cases because of the change in the food practices, fine food practices, and this information is now being used for government purposes to see that how many we can ban about it. What happened? We have introduced the system, but we have not seen the implications and complications. And then there is no backup of getting the feedback from the people also. When sir was telling that information should have been reached, today that is the main reason, sir, we are not having a information. For example, sir, I am just telling you how many of you report pharmacovigilance. Pharmacovigilance is a simple reporting. A paracetamol tablet, if it has created an allergic reaction, even a layman can file the case on the pharmacovigilance website or can do this, put a batch number, name. But nobody would like to go to the computer, not to the center and give a complaint, sir. That is why.
No,
No awareness.
many will not know that there is a website and you can.
Sir, that is, I am
No
coming to that,
awareness.
sir. Sir, I am coming to that lacuna only. How this society can take that intermediate step to go to the people, sir. Now I am just coming to another second issue is that lead pollution, what are the other sources? We are only thinking of this petrol, diesel and environment and industry. But really speaking, sir, 2000, 99 to 2000, the courageous government has taken one decision to introduce an unleaded petrol. Till 2004, the mean blood levels of the children were around 18 microgram per decimeter, which should be less than 5 microgram for a US child, not for Indian child. After 2000, when the unleaded petrol is introduced, that is an intervention, the lead levels have come down. In 2006, the same study reported, it has come down to 9 and 11. That means how the survey is done is epidemiologically from heavy traffic, mild traffic, moderate traffic and mild traffic. And this is a global World Bank study. But what happens, sir, a simple strategy of making a unleaded petrol introduced. But there was a lot of problem when they introduced the unleaded petrol because most of the two-wheelers are actually 4-stroke engine, 2-stroke engine. And then to bring it back to the 4-stroke engine, people were not ready. It is like this, sir, gas 1200 kyun kara, 800 kyun nahi kara, it is the same story.
BS4 to BS6 transition. Same.
But it has to happen, the government has to take decision, but tough decisions have taken. Then second source which I am telling you, it took 3 years for us to even design the protocol, sir. Sir, you may be also aware.
one activist group, name we can definitely quote, down to earth Sunita Narayan, that lead poisoning is happening in the dolls, through the dolls, lead and phthalate poisoning. Yes, it is definitely happening, lead and phthalate poisoning. But what happened at that time, the Prime Minister who was there, without knowing anything, America banned Chinese dolls. Our Prime Minister, without knowing anything, he also banned Chinese dolls. But Prime Minister should have known that we are under the SARC nation. Until unless you prove your doll is better than the SARC nation's other doll, you cannot ban this doll. They have banned. Supreme Court asked the question, said government of international court, please provide the data. There is no data. Who manufactures doll? Who manufactured TIC? No data. Then they told that no, ICMR should generate a data. Why ICMR should generate a data? What way doll is manufacturing is related to ICMR. Sriram Institute came into the picture that we will generate the data. This is 8,000 crore domestic industry. Doll making is a 8,000 crore industry. Sir. It took 2 years for us to make the protocol, sir. And in this protocol, I am just telling you, we have to take lot of support, not from an individual. What sir has very clearly mentioned that it should be an integrated support and integrated approach, where we have to have a chemist, engineer, manufacturer, layman, and what it is. The NIN has become one stakeholder or a lead stakeholder. I am one of the state lead holders. We have done the study, and the study is that why Indian dolls are better than the Chinese doll. We started doing the work. You will not believe it, sir. The situation is that in India, the dolls at different places, like if you take Nagaland, if you take Chennai, if you take wherever this jatra or some religious function takes place, at that time only this type of dolls will emerge. Why? Because they are made up of a third grade plastic, third grade phthalate, and they will put a lead paint on that, and this lead paint will give a shining, and that is available at a cheaper rate. Then what way it is related to nutrition, which I am just bringing to your notice, that why anemia is very common in the women who are working as a laborer, daily wages employee. The issue is that in India, the poor lady has to go for employment, without that she will not get a salary. In 3 days immediately after the delivery or a 4th day after the delivery, the woman gives the new baby. That baby has to play, so they will put it in a jhula and they will put this doll in that baby's mouth, and the baby sucks it. Lead is a very good metal.
Yes.
It gives a very good taste.
Yes.
So leaching is perfect. When you are leaching it, you will get even a phthalate. But the child from an age of neonate, from the pregnancy till the 15 years, his brain, he or her brain develops. And this lead goes and attacks on a myelin sheath. It will not allow the brain to develop. And these children are becoming the cognitive deficient children to the nation, and it is a double burden of the whole system. And we did this study. Sir, if you will not believe me, we went to Bombay, Calcutta to collect the dolls. In Bombay, after collecting the dolls, we were bringing the dolls in a government vehicle on the top. We have been stopped with the doll business people, and we have been also attacked. We have to leave the dolls. Why? Because doll analysis, not a single doll, no. You have to purchase in a bulk. So they had a doubt, you are not a shopper, you are carrying at a government vehicle. So finally managed to get some dolls. In Calcutta, one bad incident happened with my own investigator. That means all officials are here, sir is also here. What happened is, we collected all the dolls from Northeast, Calcutta and all those things, and we have put the dolls on the top of the taxi, and my investigators were coming to railway station. The police stopped the car without asking anyone. They have took away my investigators' doll car. This boy suddenly called on mobile, sir, we have been arrested. And then the phone got disconnected. Though they were having a card, nothing listening, but the police was not a same police. I think it is some NIA or we don't know, sir. They don't disclose it. Sir, believe me, I have learned how to reach the government. What sir has told is very bad, sir, in a government. First I said how to get them first released. No, sir, you call chief minister, you call this, that, all. Really speaking, sir, it was mess. Then finally one lawyer told best way that first lodge a complaint to near police station of your institute. This way we have traced it. We reached up to the commissioner, but commissioner was very nice person. He has contacted Calcutta. Calcutta said, sir, some arrests have happened because 3 days afterward there is a bomb likely and the dolls supposed to be used. So we will find out and let you know, sir. In the midnight 2 o'clock they have been released. So imagine doing the survey, collecting the samples is not an easy task. And the dolls which we have tested, sir, the report is not totally released, but I can definitely mention because now the case is closed in Supreme Court. Indian dolls, 30% had high amount of phthalate and most of these dolls were manufactured at the spot. Whereas the 12% dolls which were there having a high lead level, they were from China. But they were packed in Indian packets. Where the packing is going on at the Bombay seashore and at a Madras seashore. The dolls will come and this child will put it in a Indian packet. Name of the doll will be Indian, but it is a Chinese doll. Anyway, finally the study has gone. Now the doll industry is monitored. One more thing which sir was also mentioning, sir, for doing the lead analysis, there were no methods in India. We asked Bureau of Indian Standard. They have given us 1944 volumetric analysis method. We asked, what is this? He says, no sir, यही method है. People have gone to atomic absorption, digestion systems are changed, the microwave. Then now today if you see BIS, they have changed the system. That is the level, sir, post-freedom India has never developed. We are talking so much, but realities we have to understand. This is now with my heavy metal poisoning which I am telling you. I may not like to take much of your time, sir. I may just like to mention about this specific 3 things, sir. This is this mobile phone business. If you see, the mobile phone has been introduced, no problem. And these mobile phone users are going to the doctor. All doctors are here. So then these doctors, then you will say that, sir, I am getting a neck, pain in neck. You will fully write ibuprofen or advanced proximine or whatever it is. So this NASAID you are giving to him and he will take and he will be alright, sir. How many NASAID you are giving, that level of kidney damage is happening. So problem has come, challenging problem has come. If you see the load of the phone, ordinary reading is 4 kg load on your spinal cord. But nobody reads the phone like this now, sir. Everybody reads with the phone. क्या प्यार से लिखी है यार.
One picture you must add in the last. This posture is causing vertebral artery stenosis and people are going into chronic stroke. 3 cases I have seen.
So let us go to neuro.
So add that.
So this is the 27 kg load you have put on the
Yes.
mobile phone, sir. The spinal cord. Now this is a challenge for pharmacologists like me to find out a drug for this. So we have identified a disease called as a text neck O disease.
Actually, after reading this, I started even though when I'm like this. क्या तो भी
So,
पढ़ लो यार,
sir,
मैं
for
ऐसे ही
this,
पढ़ता हूँ।
you imagine, sir, how a scientist has to work on this. I cannot make my rat or a mice to put the phone like this. To give a drug and test it. It's a challenge for a pharmacologist. So I am just telling you, sir, these challenges we have to face. Now, there I have put one more slide, sir. That slide is actually speaking 2014 week magazine cartoon. That cartoon says, in that cartoon, the meaning is that in India we have more mobile phones.
उसके बाजू का, उसके बाजू का,
उस साइड चार्जर का है बटन है, बाजू का बटन, हाँ
हाँ,
वो पीछे, हाँ अभी हो,
अभी होगा। हाँ ले, ऑफ है।
So, sir, I will be just giving two more studies, and then I may like to close, and I may just give one case study of Dadra Nagar Haveli, Mumbai, how the things were very bad there, so that we can have more further discussion if at all we are thinking to take up. Sorry. So that cartoon is actually 2014 cartoon, where the current Prime Minister was not a Prime Minister. So there the statement given was that India has more mobile phones than the public toilets. That was the reality. And incidentally, our Prime Minister in his first speech only he told, I want to construct more toilets. So that means everybody thought the Prime Minister is useless. Okay, fine, because he 15 अगस्त के स्पीच में क्या टॉयलेट बनाने के लिए इसको प्रधानमंत्री बनाए क्या? Anyway, that was the talk. But I have used this cartoon for my own practical purposes, sir. The practical purpose is that how the pollution is taking place. आ जाएगा sir?
सर, पेन में इतने सारे बोल दो सर।
So the उसमें क्या है sir? The person early in the morning is attending the toilet. In a queue he is standing because we don't have toilets, so he is standing in a queue and he gets a chance to enter into the toilet. The moment he is entering, he is with his mobile phone, he will get a call that there is no office today. Will he go to the toilet, sir? He will not. Or he will be issued a message which says, अरे यार तेरे को promotion आ गया, so he will not go to the toilet. So burden is on whom, sir? Burden is on his family. For him also he has compromised first on the day's normal physiological system. And the environmental pollution also taken place. Full day he will not do anything, make the wife to eat, cook something, eat and then do the nonsense at home. So sir, who is the culprit? Mobile phone is the culprit, sir. नहीं नहीं ये नहीं sir. आपको तकलीफ दी. So now the guidelines are that very clearly that mobile phone should be banned or not, sir.
Below.
सर
Last row, last row. Nutrition
न्यूट्रिशन
pollution.
pollution,
नहीं नहीं below side.
नहीं
न्यूट्रिशन pollution.
Last row. Last row.
Sir, I was
Yes, sir.
with Joseph Marcola once.
Sir, this
and
one.
he was telling what is the safe distance to talk from phone. He put a selfie stick and he kept the phone like this and he was telling this is 8 years back.
Yeah.
He says this is the safe distance to
Actually,
talk.
Dr. Berg also keeps saying, don't fry
So-
yourself.
So sir, what shall I do? Because ethics committees have come. Shall I introduce a mobile phone or no mobile phone in the world? I have to do, sir. Otherwise you will be back. So it is a question of even ethics. But you have to calculate the risk and the benefit, sir. So this slide I am using it for the efficacy and the safety. Until the people understand that the benefits of it, we cannot do anything. But how to bring this?
No, no, but once we have started talking about mobile phones, I think 3G is enough for us. I don't think we require a very high technology.
Sir, if you tell like this, then you have to recall the parliament discussion where the statement has been made that Delhi government has even not taken today 5G, they are depending on 4G only. That is the bad part of our Delhi government. In spite of available 5G.
I think,
Sir, we have to go with the speed, sir.
no, but at what cost? At what cost?
Cost is fine, but initially
I work on EMFs and it is issues. There are so many systems are there, you can prevent all these EMF toxicity. Now, most of us wear earbuds without wire. It is highly dangerous and damaging.
So, sir, now I am coming to only
Exactly.
3 points, sir. Which is more toxic, which is not toxic. Sir, calcium, magnesium, any amount is non-toxic. It is a green belt. If you take copper, zinc, selenium, magnesium, it goes beyond the limit, it is toxic. If lead, cadmium, mercury, zinc, aluminum, arsenic is not at all required for the body. This is Dinesh Kumar's signal. And most important, sir, you doctors cannot see the visibly any clinical signs and symptoms of heavy metal poisoning. That is where you most of the time you are not able to diagnose and start the treatment. It is the subclinical damage which is making a problem, and for that subclinical damage the institutes have to support you, sir. So there the collaboration is required. Same thing with NIMS, NIN, CCMP, we always used to have collaboration. For example, sir, in NIMS, one of the case went for X-ray, and the X-ray when they were showing there was a high amount of lead because it shines there in the X-ray, immediately that case has come to us. Same way happened in Fever Hospital. One of the lady was having a 200 milligram of lead. That lady actually is staying in a place where the building demolitions take place. So, the rule is what? When you are demolishing a building, put a water first. Then demolish the building so that the smoke which is coming should not be inhaled by the surrounding people. But how many follows? How many civilians know कि ये आदमी बिल्डिंग तोड़ रहा तो पानी तो डाल के तोड़े हैं? किसी को मालूम भी नहीं, sir. So some type of caption and awarenesses we have to bring it, sir. Sir, this you are showing Dr. Saxena. Sir, in the public awareness, I have just put 2-3 photographs here. That is pics, sir, in our localities. If we are finding the pic of this walking nature with a no difference, please take the complaint and give it to the municipality. That means, sir, that area somewhere some arsenic leaching has taken place. Then coming to the minimata disease, sir, if this type of syndromes are clinical practices which you are reporting, kindly report it. And this is the fishing village where this incident has happened. Now coming to the cadmium, sir, this last one which I am just showing you is our own research. In Dadra Nagar Haveli, what happened is many animals died. Some of the animal skeletons we have collected, and we found out that there is a spinal cord gaps. And this spinal cord gaps, when we estimated, the cadmium was 0.001 ppm. Now, what is Dadra Nagar Haveli case? I will not reveal the name of an industry. I will only tell you, sir, that industry manufactures the lead. In Hyderabad is one industry near Uppal, Board Uppal, and one industry is in Dadra Nagar. They manufacture lead blocks. At that time, the source of lead block manufacturing was from the thumbs up tins, fruity packets, and all those things get collected and they go to Dadra Nagar, and they used to melt it and they used to prepare the lead blocks. And there was one river called as the Talasari river between the Dadra Nagar Haveli and this thing. When you are talking about a government, the government also still we are in a colonial government only. I don't know when this word will go from our words. We wanted to do the survey of that area because it was a badly affected area. Cattle were dragging, children were having a high amount of lead, women were also having a high amount of lead. our job was to collect some sample. Then we approached to Dadra Nagar collector, Dadra Nagar Haveli collector. We told him this area is polluted, suspecting this X industry is releasing the leaks. The Dadra Nagar Haveli collector has told, no, it is a good idea, but it doesn't come under in my area. You go to Mumbai and Mumbai collector will clear this. Then we went to Mumbai, sir. Mumbai collector say, this also doesn't come under our area, but it is in India, but it doesn't come under our area, so we cannot help. Because collector goes by his own writings, by his own textbooks. Colonials have written, but we have not changed, sir. Finally, what we have done, we have managed through some agencies, some samples we have collected. The real story, what happens, sir, the lead blocks which are prepared, that industry has been given such a privilege that he has constructed his industry on the belt of a river, and when the river flow increases or river swells, this swelling water touches these lead blocks and it leaches down. And this factory works only in the night, 11 o'clock, stops producing at 4 o'clock. In Hyderabad also it is the same situation. When it smokes come, you cannot stand for more than 1 hour in front of in that area. Even now also we know. But the schools are running in and around, so we have collected school children. And how the smoke spreads in the children. 5 kilometers, 2.5 kilometers, 5.5 kilometers, the lead levels were reducing, hemoglobins were also reduced, and this is the way how the pollution was taking place. That is one of our first epidemiological studies, which you can see in my name also, in Dadra Nagar Haveli. From there we have collected many of these samples and we have reported, sir. And beyond this, if I go, it will be long, so I may like to stop here. I can only say that, sir, that how the thiamine can help the whole pollution and how it pollutes the things, that I can tell you, and how a simple thiamine can make a good chelating effect. And this is one of our studies which I have done in IIC Bangalore. Yes. And we have seen that simple thiamine can prevent the lead toxicity to some extent. And this is what exactly why heavy metal pollution is very important, is that undernutrition and pollution of heavy metals will have the same symptoms. So you cannot identify inhibition of enzyme systems, alteration in neurotransmitter levels, degeneration of myelin and glial sheets, and impairment of gross and motor nerve system, and lowering of IQ. So these two interactions aggravate the situation. So it is important, sir, that we have to monitor the heavy metal toxicity. Let us not believe anyone. And this global warming answer I cannot give, except this cartoon is understandable, and I will stop at this juncture, sir. Thank you very much, Sakshay Ravi, for making me to come and share my ideas.
Sir, it's always a pleasure, sir. You try to make some very, very subtle things. I'd like to invite Dr. Baburao. Dr. Baburao ji has a kind of thing. He is a pure scientist, and he has helped me so much talking about understanding what exactly is mercury, what is this thing and all that. And let's hear from a perspective of a pure chemist. Sir.
केमिकल्स की जो स्मेल आती
And meanwhile, that gets started, I'd like to introduce Dr. Chandrakant and Madam. Both are Dr. Chandrakant has done some kind of work with tobacco and all that, and he We'd like you to talk also. Sir, please continue.
He healed my osteomyelitis of the bone.
So,
Yeah,
he
so
has-
what?
he has
He's
been
he's my dentist.
so many people, not
Yeah,
just
I'm one of them.
you. He has
I'm
treated,
one of them.
so
So
he has
in
treated
movie
lot of.
theaters, if you're seeing that tobacco and that picture is coming with that
Because of
wounds,
him.
everything, that is Dr. Chandrasekhar is responsible for
So,
that
Pankaj-
movie theaters display. He is the whole behind that movement. He is the one. It is possible today only because of him. Today every movie theater has a smoking prevention.
I'll share with you something very unique.
So, sir, let's
Just
hear from Baburaj.
one minute.
Hey, sir.
In rehabilitation, I used to get all cardiac cases, operated, transplanted cases and all. 10,000 cases I've handled
Yes.
in a short span. They all are wonderful. I was also running an anti-smoking drive.
Oh, excellent.
One thing which successfully got implemented, the husband is a chain smoker. The wife says, I cannot do anything. I said, stop kissing him.
Excellent, sir. That's what.
Can you imagine? I was able to save 100 people out of it. They stopped smoking. I was really surprised how it can happen.
We must give this hint to the information department so that they will include it in the.
Yes.
Pan eater, cigarette smoker, if the wife stops kissing, you see the result will change.
Good. Okay, can I begin, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry for interfering.
In earlier meetings of 1, 2, 3, I was talking about toxic burden and things like that. For this one, I didn't have much time, so I thought what I should speak. I decided to speak on chemical pollution because everything that you say finally comes to chemical pollution. And this is chemical pollution is the greatest burden today. It is much worse than climate change also. You're able to see. This is a slide prepared by Julian Cribb on the extent of chemical pollution that the world is facing today. If you have climate pollution, it is around 40 billion tons per year, whereas chemical pollution is anywhere between 120 tons to 220 billion tons per year. So it is far more overwhelming than the climate pollution. We are seeing the climate pollution effects straight away, but here also we are seeing in the morbidity and mortality, but people are not recognizing it as a threat as such. Next please. So coming to chemical industry, the starting original chemical industry started with Leblanc's process for making sodium carbonate, because at that time people, all the cloth was, they started making the cloth by machine, but it is not possible for ordinary people to have dyed cloth or printed cloth. It's not, because it was very costly. They were using natural dyes at that time. So when they wanted to make synthetic dyes, they needed large quantities of sodium carbonate for that purpose as a raw material. So they had to find a process for making it. So somebody came up with Leblanc came up with this kind of a process, and that was going on. But in that process, while they were making, they were producing a lot of hydrogen chloride. They didn't know what to do with it. They were simply leaving it to the atmosphere. And they were also producing calcium sulfide, which is a horrible solid pollutant. It keeps releasing H2S continuously. So they had this problem, and the people who were working there, by the time they reached 30, 35 years, they were losing all their teeth. They were dying early, the people who were working in those plants. All around also people were not able to live well. So this is how the primitive chemical industry started. And even now, with all the sophistication, the pollution component still continues. Only thing is we cover it up much more sophisticated way, but we are not really solving the problem. It is all denial, and all the process of denial. So this is the starting point. This particular Leblanc process was the starting point for making the first Pollution Control Act. That was the British Parliament passed Alkali Act in 1863. That made the starting point for the pollution acts. Next please. So coming to the toxic chemicals, if we categorize the chemicals, we have neurotoxins that affect the nervous system, we have hepatotoxins that affect the liver, we have asphyxiants that give us positive oxygen problem, then carcinogens, which there are a lot of talking was going on, then mutagens and teratogens, which are reproductive hazards, then allergens, which cause asthma-like problem. Then we also have what are called endocrine disruptors. These chemicals have become very, very important nowadays because they are affecting the actual birth of the children itself, prenatal effects, because they mimic the hormones. That's the problem. Then coming to this, how the poisons work, this dose makes the poison that was found in early, I think 1540, 14, this 1567 is not correct, I think it's much earlier than that, few decades earlier than that. So you can take, and even sugar is a poison. Here I remember one particular incident that happened in Andhra Pradesh. At that time it was combined state. So two science teachers, they put a bet. One teacher said, I can eat 1 kilo of salt. He said, I can eat 1 kilo of salt, 10,000 rupees bet. He started eating. He ate a 1/4 kilo. He collapsed. He was taken to hospital and died because his kidneys have failed. This is how even science teachers make that mistake. Next, this is from Ravi Naidu professor's paper. So this chemical pollutants is the global picture is given where how it affects everywhere. This overview of global sources and pathways of the chemical pollution are presented in this. You can say that pollution-related deaths are now 9 to 10 million per year compared, for example, with 2 million deaths for COVID-19. So chemical pollution deaths are far more than even the COVID deaths. Indeed, the toll may be even higher if deaths for cancers and other non-communicable diseases are also included. Next, please. So this is, you have air pollution, you have soil pollution, you have pesticides, you have water pollution, radioactive pollution, radionuclides. This is all, we are combinedly attacked from so many sides. They will be affecting our cognitive disorders, they create respiratory diseases, liver accumulation and chronic effects, kidney damage, infertility and all those things. This is the chemical pollution in different ways is manifesting and causing all these problems. Then also you have this, that Reddy was talking about this forever chemicals. Forever chemicals are PFAS, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. This is become a real issue today because when those chemicals were used initially to produce Teflon, Teflon is a marvel engineering plastic. It was, everybody thought it's a very great discovery and DuPont made billions and billions on that. But today it has become a curse for the world. It's simply because the PFOAs that are used in that process, they are now everywhere in the world. They have spread. It was manufactured only in small parts of in USA, but the entire world is affected by that pollution today. If it is raining anywhere, that rainwater contains PFOAs. And many places they say the PFOAs are far above the actual safe limit. Because safe limit for them, for that is less than 1 part per trillion. Less than 1 part per trillion. That is 10 to the power of minus 12. So at such levels, any rainwater itself is not suitable for drinking straight away. Who is going to treat that water in our water boards? HMWSSB, is it capable of treating that water? No. This is the problem. Next, please. This is food security, food safety risks are there. So if we have site abandoned, because we are contaminating so many sites, so many places. For example, I can give you one example straight away. In Tummalapalli in Andhra Pradesh, there is a uranium mining project. There they are contaminated the groundwater so heavily, and the groundwater that is used for growing banana plants or other agriculture purposes, that soil is also destroyed. Now they have to abandon the agriculture itself there. People have given up so much of agriculture in some parts of the land because that's no longer suitable, because they contain so much of sodium salts When the sodium salts get into the soil, they form a white layer and it loses its porosity and it cannot supply water to the plant and nothing grows there. The banana plants that were there, they were dying. This is how we are contaminating everywhere, and even after so many years, our authorities are unable to say that this pollution has come from this plant. They don't have the guts to say that. And they are only acting against the people who are protesting and demanding something, so their problem should be solved. This is the whole problem. Pollution, everybody knows, but it is not named, it is not questioned, it is not acted on. Everywhere it is like that. So I think this is the last slide. So right from birth to the death, we are affected by these chemicals. We are exposed to chemical pollutants. We are exposed to contaminated food. And then we have also, in this process, we also generate so much of infertility and fetal demise is also happening. We are getting so much of human mortality and morbidity as attributed to acute and chronic toxicity in chemical pollutants and reduced normal life expectancy. That is, we are seeing what I think that is not relevant here. I will not use that information. Anyhow, damage to the fetus, sperm, embryos. We are also seeing many people are going without children now. They have problems of infertility is increasing in the country. All this is it's mainly because of chemical pollution. Next, please. This is how many disability years we are suffering from different types of chemical pollutants. So lead, there is so much is talked about. So many, 2 million to 4.8 million years of active adjusted life years are lost. So mining, board product, there also. So different types, dye industry, product manufacturing, chemical manufacturing, all of them are adding to loss of life, years of active life. Only 2 days back, I think in Delhi, from air pollution, the average life lost is 11.9 years, it seems, in Delhi. Yes. Yeah, somebody is died somewhere. 12 years of life is lost simply because you are getting exposed to automobile pollution to such an extent. Earlier they were blaming the farmers, but that is which is untrue. It is mostly because of the style of life we have chosen. Automobile as the central piece of our mobility. That is the reason for it. Next, please. Thank you. I made a very short one because I missed so much time.
Thank you, sir. Barbara, I think you always had solutions also, and this time next time we'd like to listen to your solutions also. PFOS, what I understand, once it gets into your system, it's very difficult unless we sweat this out. All these chemicals, particularly bisphenols, PFOS, all these subtle chemicals, it's very difficult taking out. That's the reason we tell people to sit into saunas. Yeah. So I would like to be, I just want to have Chakrapani ji's view, what's his take and all that, because when it comes to policymakers, we need to use his expertise. Sir, if you can sum it and all that, and Ananta, we'll have everyone will talk. It's not a thing, but somebody like Chakrapani ji, I'd just like to use his expertise, and we would like, sir, you can come.
Thank you very much. It has been a very, very enlightening kind of an effort, and I'd like to acknowledge the wonderful contribution of Dr. Praveen Saxena, whom I have known for the last 3 years or so. I'm really impressed with the work being done by very inspired scientists, social activists, who are all part of this group, doctors. Assuming that every one of the observations is very valid and needs to be taken forward, what is it that we will do? I think that's the challenge before all of us. I have 1 or 2 suggestions, Mr. Saxena. One, if we have maybe 2 or 3 subgroups of this kind of an august body who can formulate the following. One, where an executive instruction will be adequate. An executive instruction will be adequate probably at the state level, and if it encompasses the whole country, at the national level. Are we willing to draft that and send it to the concern? And I can establish the contacts with those departments or the national bodies or the state bodies, like the Pollution Control Board, the state departments, like the local bodies, like the corporations, etc., where there is a lot of pollution. An organization like the Environmental Protection and Training and Research Institute, EPTRI. So we can certainly do it, that's number one. But even before that, if the conclusions are already part of a national body like the scientific bodies, CSIR institutions or the